Hey everybody, I'm back and I hope you're getting a lot of practice time in, a lot of fun playing around. Today we're finally getting to 3 ideas that you can use to improve your solos and experiment with some fresh ideas for them. Let's do it. Okay, quarantine has me doing some odd things. I'm tuned to standard tuning. This is actually an E. So, without further ado, let's look at the first idea I have for you in terms of soloing. This first idea is to learn the melody of the song you're going to be improvising over, or failing that, to actually sing your own melody. And here's why. As a guitarist, it can get a little bit easy to get caught up in a whole lot of licks and skills. And just play a whole lot of notes. But on the guitar, we don't actually have to breathe. I should point out, however, that stopping breathing entirely will result in your guitar solo eventually stopping. So what can happen is we lose any sense of space when we're playing solos, just trying to play as many notes as possible. So by learning the melody of a song that you're working on, you naturally start to get some phrasing, you copy some melodies, and you're learning some of the notes that just fit well over those chords. Recently I broke down a loop cover I did of Englishman in New York by Sting. So let's just use that, and we're going to go through D minor, E minor and A minor. So our key is A minor. The first thing I would do is learn this little "Whoa, I'm an alien." And I'd learn it in different places on the guitar as well. So I'd go up the octave and play. This gives you a framework of some of the notes that you might use. It helps with your ear training to sit and listen to what Sting is singing. And it starts to develop your phrasing as well, so that it's not just 101 notes, it's about how they fit over the chords. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. But for now, let's extend this tip and make it useful if there's not a melody, if you're just trying to practice your improvisation and over a couple of chords. Here's what I do. Just record it as a voice memo on your phone, so you can play it back and hear what you did and then figure out how it goes. And so, handy phone, voice memo, record. Okay, it's happening. I would go so you can sing whatever you want. Let's play this back. Now my goal is to learn that. So now I have a little melody going. Now why would you sing and do this, especially if you're not a great singer, rather than just repeat little patterns of your pentatonic scales that you've probably found and playing along with? Well, the reason is when we sing, we have to breathe in and then we breathe out to sing, and then there's natural space, a natural pause. We can't just keep singing continuously, whereas on the guitar, that is a bonus sometimes. We can just play the coolest little lick that we've learned. It's like if you were writing a book and you decided to put no full stops, no commas, no punctuation. It's sort of, after a while, it gets really hard to read and you sort of tend to turn away. Whereas as soon as there's a bit of a space, we've kind of like, I can... we can start to break up what's happening. So by singing and... I think that's what I played. By singing something, it can change every time. We can learn new phrasing. You can be as crazy as you like. Just record it on a voice memo so you can go back and figure out what it was later. Let's do an interesting one and see what happens. Notice how naturally there's more phrasing, there's more interesting things that I do vocally than if I just let those chords run and played my little scales on repeat. That is tip number one. I've found it super useful, even though it does take a bit of time and practice to put into this. I think you'll find it's really rewarding. Tip number two is to actually learn the arpeggios of the chords you're playing. And this again will take some time, but it can result in some really creative and interesting runs that span across the fretboard rather than these kind of linear scales. You start to... you can move up an arpeggio, down a scale, up a scale, and down an arpeggio. There's a lot of options in terms of practicing these. What I suggest is get one position underneath your fingers. So for example, starting on the 5th string, and we're going to take the D minor 7, we get so just going through the frets, it'd be 5th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret on the 4th string, 3rd fret, that's our 7th. Sorry, and that was the 5th fret. 5th fret to the 7th fret. Then on the B string, we've got the 6th fret. On the 1st E string, we've got the 5th fret and the 8th fret. To start with, to go up and down the arpeggio. So that it's familiar. There's a lot of fun to be had with experimenting with these arpeggios and starting to move them into different places. So, for example, we went through this little like A minor 7 shape as the arpeggio. You can go through, for example, just a straight E minor arpeggio and move it around, which would start from the 6th string. That's an A minor one, B flat minor, B minor. The patterns are going to be the same, but you're only going to use them once they become really familiar. So you do need to do a little bit of work on this, and taking a small chunk of the arpeggio, not the whole thing, because it sounds a little bit robotic, but perhaps you could go, and that becomes your lick. That's our little arpeggio. And then maybe we finish with some sort of lick. As a bonus idea, if your brain is not already fried, and while we're talking about arpeggios, you can learn the arpeggios of the scale you're in. So in A minor, that would look something like this. We'd have A minor, G major, F major, E minor, D minor, C major, and then B diminished, and we're back to A minor. If that is just too much right now, don't worry about it at all. Just maybe learn that shape of the minor 7 and get one thing that you feel confident with. And you can revisit this later and kind of be like, what were these little arpeggios he was talking about of A minor and G and the notes of the scale. Anyway, on to tip number 3. Idea number 3 to improve your soloing is a sneaky little tip that has you play the dominant or the diminished chord just before the chord that you're playing. And this provides a whole lot of tension. It's not going to work in every example, but it is a cool, fun little trick to experiment with, and it is something I used from that Englishman in New York video, so that's why I thought I'd include it here. But what it is we've got our D minor 7, E minor 7 and A minor 7. Just before playing the A minor 7, we're going to play its dominant chord, which is the 5th. So if you know what that is, it's going to be E7. If you're ever unsure, just play, figure out what chord you're coming back to, in this case A minor, and just go onto the next string, so 5th string, and up 2 frets. And that's our E, that's our 5th, our dominant 7. So, for example, here we might have a D minor lick. E minor we might start with, and then we're going to go to an E7, and then we're going to go to our A. Okay, so what it means is you basically get this little G sharp, and it's like a leading note back into the A. You could think of adding that note in just as the leading note, just a semitone below the key that we're in, A minor. But it kind of comes nicely if you add the chord, again using a little arpeggio. This is our E7 at the 7th fret, and I'm just using the 4th, 3rd and 2nd strings. So, if we were to put it together, let's put some chords in this. Okay, so we can solo in A minor. Just normally, there's no tension. Okay, now you can hear that note. I just played a G sharp, which is part of our E7 chord, and then walk down the A minor. Very simple. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I really hope that these little tutorials, these videos, these ideas are of value to you. If they are, let me know in the comments what you found useful, and hopefully this opens up some new ideas for you with your soloing and playing that you can experiment with at home. Da 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 da.